If you haven't seen them, I've done a series of videos from this book. St. Francis of Rome received visions of heaven, hell, and purgatory. And I read the visions from hell, and they will scare the hell out of anyone who finds out detailed punishments of what would take place in hell for certain punishments, for certain sins. Well, I'm so excited to finally read from the parts of the book that talk about, well, eternity when it begins to be joyous. So today I'd like to read about what St. Francis learned about the condition of the souls in purgatory. In the name of the most holy Trinity, here begins our discourse on purgatory, in which, with God's gracious help, the visions which were shown to Blessed Francis and which she revealed to her spiritual father will be described. After the conclusion of all her various visions of hell, which are described in the chapters above, the saint related that she was led away to see purgatory. This realm, she testifies, consists of 3 divisions or levels: lower, middle, and upper. She perceived at the entrance to purgatory a great sign made of shimmering crystal. It bore the following inscription, written in lettering of vibrant, opalescent brilliance. And here's what the inscription read: "Behold, the realm of true purgation, a land of hope, not desolation. Oh, many pains are here for sure, but they will not for long endure. For when its time decreed here ends, each soul from hence God mercy sends to heaven's kingdom of pure light, to reign in holy love's delight." So beginning right there, even though the pains in purgatory are, as we're about to see, tremendous, there's a peace knowing that once you've finished your purgation, paying for the sins of your lifetime, nothing but eternal bliss remains. I read. As Frances entered purgatory, she sensed once more the invisible presence of her celestial guardian, the Archangel Raphael. This mighty angel said to her, "This realm is called purgatory, for the souls who are here are in the process of being purged of their sins and guilt. For this reason, it may justly be called the place of hope. The lowest of the 3 regions of purgatory is filled with flames, like hell. But the flames here are of a different quality and nature to those in hell. For the fires of the inferno are black and lightless, whereas the flames of purgatory glow with a vivid red and give forth radiant light. The light of these purifying and cleansing fires illuminates the souls which are here with divine grace. Through this illumination, they come to realize the saving and liberating truth, and to understand that their term of purgation is fixed and finite. Francis saw the location of the souls in purgatory was proportionate to the gravity of the sins which remained on their conscience at the time of their death. For those who were guilty of more grave and serious sins, they were immersed in the lower levels, where the fire was more intense. It was also revealed to Francis that for each and every unatoned mortal sin a soul had committed, they would be obliged to do a period of 7 years of penance. Guys, get to confession. Confess those mortal sins. Francis next turned her gaze to the demons who are assigned to service in purgatory. Every soul has its own demon assigned to it who stands at its left side. This demon constantly reminds the soul of its guilt and the gravity of the offenses it had committed against the Almighty, saying, "Lo, these pains you suffer very rightly on account of the crimes you have perpetrated against your God, who created you and redeemed you with infinite love and generosity. Instead of following the truth, you preferred to be seduced by the illusions and deceptions of demons like me, who are all fiends and liars. How often you succumb to temptation, ignoring the gentle voice of the Lord, to listen instead to the nefarious whisperings of the world, the flesh, and the devil. So now you are paying the price of your iniquity and doing just penance for your countless sins. These reproaches, together with the hideous aspect of the vexacious companion demon who uttered them, not to mention the cleansing fire which abounds in purgatory, were a source of very grave suffering for the souls who were serving time there. Francis noted, however, that apart from these verbal reproaches and their annoying presence, the demons in purgatory did not torture the souls to whom they were assigned in any way. For the sufferings in purgatory, though undeniably severe and painful to endure, are not inflicted as punishments. Rather, they are the workings of celestial mercy and necessary to fulfill the requirements of divine justice. Their intent is not to harm, but to heal. And as such, these sufferings resemble surgical operations which are painful, or medicines which are difficult to consume. They are admittedly deeply unpleasant and irksome, but at the same time, they are wholesome and healthful. The saint also perceived that the souls in purgatory cry out continually, but this crying out is of a very different nature to the hopeless vociferations of the souls who are damned to hell. For in hell, the wailing and moaning of the souls is the sound of utter despair and agonized desolation. But in purgatory, the crying out was rather an expression of sincere and heart-rending penitence, and it was even of gratitude at the mercy of God. While these cries were far from exultant or joyful, they nevertheless were infused with a kind of firm hope and spiritual beauty, and they were nothing like the black and jarring cacophony of despair which resounded ceaselessly in the fiend-haunted netherworld of the inferno. This firm hope and strength, which could be detected in the tones of the cries of the penitents that came forth from the denizens of purgatory, sprung from the fact that each of these souls realized that all that it currently suffered was merely temporary and a necessary part of its preparation for heaven. Indeed, these souls, though they endured pains and torments of varying degrees of intensity, all knew with absolute certainty that in due course they would arrive at the ineffable joys and radiant splendors of the kingdom of God. Excuse me. As mentioned earlier, the demon who was assigned to each soul in purgatory to remind it constantly of its sins and the ways in which it had offended its loving Creator was situated at the left of each soul. Francis next went on to say that at the right of each soul stood an angel, an entity of indescribable beauty and magnificence, and bathed in the splendid glow of ethereal refulgence. This angel was, in fact, the very same spiritual entity who had been appointed by God to serve as the guardian angel of the soul during its earthly life, and who now continued to protect and comfort it in purgatory. Francis observed that the angel would encourage the soul it accompanied by communicating to it all the prayers and alms which were offered for its sake by relatives and friends who were still alive. This guardian angel, who stood at the right of each soul, would also respond to the vexatious demon who stood at the left. Whenever this demon would remind the soul of the sins and vices of which it had been guilty during its mortal life, the angel would respond by reminding the soul of the deeds of charity and piety which it had performed. It would also remind the soul of the good works it had intended to do, but never actually put into practice, and also of the times when it had sincerely and earnestly fought against some temptation, whether successfully or unsuccessfully. For God, the most just of all judges, considers not only actual words and actions, but even the unseen desires of the heart and the hidden intentions of the soul. This merciful Lord never demands of us more than His grace gives us the strength to do, and never tests us with any temptation of trial which is beyond our capacity to endure. Oh, that just made me feel clean reading it. I'd been reading all of these stories of what happens in hell for different sins, but just to read, despite the pain, despite that I've read from many mystics, that the pain in purgatory, there's nothing that can compare to it down on earth. There's no pain as painful on earth as the pain in purgatory. And I thought, oh, I don't want to go through that. But this hopeful feeling, knowing there's an angel saying, Christine, remember, you tried hard, you fought, though you may not have successfully beat that temptation. You tried hard. Remember those times you really tried to please the Lord? Remember when you did this? Remember when you fed that person? Remember when you visited that person at jail? I'm so grateful that God, in his infinite wisdom, not only put us here on earth to allow us to be tested and prove our love, he follows us until the moment we are in heaven with him. He blesses us with angels on earth, angels in purgatory, never abandons us. What a good and gracious God. I hope this encourages you as well. Let me know. Put a couple comments down. I'd like to hear. And don't forget to share this video with your friends. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching this Bacon Bit. And remember, always live your life sunny side up.